God could have said, let there be man, and there will have been man. But God said, let us make man in our image. So man is not a product of a statement, it's a product of a process. And that is where discipleship started from. Let us make man in our image after our likeness. So God himself set himself as a prototype, a model, a standard, a benchmark. He set himself as a standard, and he decided to make man according to who he is. God remains the standard. God remains the benchmark. God remains the goal, the model, the prototype, the example that is set. Other things that he made before man had their own standards, their own examples, their own prototypes, and you wonder how. If you check the Bible very well, you will notice this phrase that was very, very common in Genesis chapter 1, after its kind. After its kind. After their kind. So there was a kind after which everything was patterned. Now, when it came to the turn of man, the kind after which man was patterned was God. But don't forget, there was a family. The family of the man and the woman. And God was the head of that family. He was the commander, permit me. He was the instructor. He was the disciple maker. He was the first disciple maker I have ever read in the Word of God. So he brought them into the garden and he gave them instructions as to how to live, operate in the garden. So man at the very beginning was made by God. I wish I can talk about the process of that, of how God made man. But I'm not sure I have that liberty of time, that luxury of time at this point in time. But I like to say to you that you might have become a leader in the Redeemed Christian Church of God by a statement. Somebody may just pronounce you a pastor, yet not made. It is possible for a man to be pronounced a preacher, a pastor, a president, and yet is not made a president. The question that Hebrew asked Moses was, who made you? Who made you? Now, you will find out that this issue of being made is the bane of our society. We have people in leadership position who are never made. We have young people who are growing and they are going to become our leaders tomorrow in Nigeria, and yet they are not made, as it were. They have not been prepared for the position they were aspiring. So they get there and they mess it up because they were never made. It is, you see, sometimes we harass people because with our position. We harass people because of the exalted office we occupy, because we lack authority of life. Now, when a man is not made, he doesn't have what it takes to command people to follow him. And I like to start from that point. Now that you are in the school of disciples, now that you yourself have taken the responsibility of making men, have you been made, or were you just pronounced by a pastor who loves you so much, or because you have a very good working relationship with him, he pronounced you to be a leader, and from that moment you are a leader? Now, I tell you the truth, you may not travel far. Or if you travel far, you may lack the requisite grace to make the right impact upon people that come across your path. That may be a hard truth, but that's the truth. I like to remind you that Moses had to go to Midian for 40 solid years. He thought he could start ministry at the age of 40, but no. He was not made yet. You can imagine the difference between Moses, who killed an Egyptian, and the Moses who saw the bush burning 40 years after. Now, 40 years, to be 40 years earlier, Moses will have looked for buckets of water and quenched the fire. The way he quenched, permit that English, the way he quenched that Egyptian. But because he has been taken through a process of making, instead of killing, permits me, the fire, he said, I will now turn aside to see why this bush is burning and it's not consumed. Now, I thought 40 years ago he would have said, let me turn aside